All right, welcome to my FX Buddies, the podcast. And I say podcast because there are more than one way, there is more than one way to enjoy this information. All right, so it is May 1st. We're in a new month. If this was a different channel, I'd say miracles can happen. I'd say some other things too, but we're not going to do that because this isn't that channel. But, all right, so let's see. Countdown. I was joking with someone. Oh, yeah, I remember someone saying, well, countdown to June, right? 30 days. Oh, wait, there's 31 days in May, right? I think there's 31 days in May. Countdown to June. All right, but anyway, today's another good one. Um, okay, but let me finish the intro. All right. So, YouTube, anything that I cover, discuss, falls under the Fair Use Disclaimer Act because it's for sharing, critiquing, commenting, teaching, and all of that is under the Fair Use Disclaimer Act. Rumble, I am my FX Buddies. Spotify.com has audio and video availability. RSS.com has an excellent transcript. And what else? That's it. Okay, so, but the blog is the best place to go because eventually I post the video. When I say eventually, I mean like 20 minutes because there's stuff I have to do, whatever. And depending on how long that stuff takes, that's when the video is available to be embedded on the blog. So the blog is at myfxbuddies.blogspot.com. And that's a lot, I know. So wherever you are listening or watching this episode, which is episode 73, look for a more info, intro, description, some type of button of that nature. You click that, another box will open, and there'll be a link directly to the blog and then also to other things. The link to rss.com is there usually. Yeah. So that's it. All right, so we're going to get started. So, yeah, we'll just get started. There's a one really good article, and yes, I'm going to make you wait to the end because that's what a good podcaster does, right? That's how you keep the audience engaged. You say, no, don't forget, wait till the end where I have that really good news. Don't you hate when people do that? So, but I'm really excited about this, so I don't think I'm going to make it to the end. And depending on how much longer you're listening or watching, I start putting the timeline. It has to do with Google, so you could open the, the more button and find, I don't know what I'm going to call it there, but under the timeline and key moments, it'll say Google, and you could jump right to that. Okay. But so they had some cleanup and some follow up from yesterday. So let's get to that. All right. The title of of this video actually, Iraq's banking crisis, U.S. sanctions, Iran links, and the fallout. But the first article, Washington leans on Iraqi banks to choke Iran's dollar supply. And that really is what they're doing, right? If you listen to yesterday's episode, they explained that they're going to open a bank here in America that should be operating June 1st. Yes, they said June 1st, not me. And it's going to be mostly for merchant. Well, this is what they're telling us, right? Mostly for merchant transactions, credit card transactions. But effectively, it is a way to make sure money's not going to Iran, right? First and foremost, that's what it is. and then it's away for the other stuff. Okay, so it says Iraq is a key hub, allowing Iran access to the international financial system. Which means what? Iraq gets access, right? Which is what we want. But the U.S. is turning up the pressure on the country's banking system. The U.S. is tightening its maximum pressure grip on Iran by focusing on one of the key hubs that allows Tehran access to the international financial systems, which is Iraq. So you can read this. It it has a lot of the same information as yesterday, but now they're telling the truth. They're really doing this to keep dollars away from Iran, right? Let's see. Regional analysts estimate that Iraq facilitates and effectively launders $300 million to Iran a day. And so that had to have been in the old days, right? Because they've made all these changes supposedly with this remittance thing, foreign remittance transfers or whatever, right? So they shouldn't be getting away with that. But here, the banking system is central to a broader Iranian nexus of influence in the country. Many of the lenders appear to be handling the payroll supplies and financial transactions of Iran-backed paramilitary groups and militias. They also help Iran to do its business far from U.S. sanctions. Also, you could look up, I don't have time to talk about it here, Indonesia got caught. Well, I hate to say that, but they're just friends helping friends, right? But in our eyes, we caught Indonesia helping Iran also. Alrighty, let's see what else. It's a lucrative business. And may include Turkey, Lebanon, and Syria also. But remember, so going back to the merchants, there had always been cries from the merchants saying, hey, why don't you open a separate platform so we can do this business? We have legitimate business with these countries, but you're cutting the dollars off and we can't do it. So make another platform. Remember that? That was last year. So they are, they really are trying to help them out. But so this is quite lengthy. This is a lengthy article. The problem with Iraqi lenders is they have disregard for the dollar ban. All right. So you can read that. That's another section. I think there's one more section. Yeah. Choking Iraqi banking. And actually, if you've been following along, you could skip those first two sections and go to this one. To date, the Central Bank of Iraq denies an immediate threat of sanctions while confirming consultations with U.S. Treasury Department officials in the UAE. In principle, it is committed to monitoring foreign transfers and dollar cash sales to prevent laundering. So we're putting pressure to get Iraq to move from private to state-owned lenders, including Ramadan and Rashid Bank and the Trade Bank of Iraq. Okay, so you could read that. The reason I made that the top article was because the truth came out, right? So here they have a little short, I think this is 4 sentences. 1, 2, 3, 3 sentences. Of the really long article yesterday that explained how they were linking Iraqi banks to U.S. banks. And who is that? Mohammed Saleh. But yeah, this isn't a new article. They just shrunk it down. Saleh said in a press statement, as long as Iraq is within the dollar zone, like other OPEC countries, it is in our country's interest to deal equally with the commercial banking system in the U.S. as a global correspondent power for national banks. So yeah, All right, so that's why I put those together. Now here, we're going to skip these for time's sake, but just so you know, Fitch, the ratings, Fitch with an F, as in Frank, and also Standard & Poor, see that? They have come out and said Iraq, the banking sector, not the country, the banking sector is still high risk. We know they're making all these changes, but along with the challenges of the global economy, right? They're at high risk. And I think the S&P puts them in group 10, which is reserved for the most vulnerable systems. So I'm sure they're not happy with that, but they didn't get downgraded, right? It could have been worse. They could have gotten downgraded, okay? But if you want to read those, they're there. A widening deficit and declining oil prices. The 2025 budget is suspended by a government decision. Now, we saw this yesterday also, but yesterday it was an unnamed source, right? This man today, he's put your name on it. Remember that? I love that guy. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he put his name on it. But he's not in the government. He's a financial and economic expert, and I can say his name, Haider al-Sheikh. I'm sure I'm not saying it right, but so he revealed Thursday the real reasons preventing the government from sending the 2025 budget tables to the House of Representatives, and it is the decline in oil prices, which is causing a significant deficit. And he even gives you the percentage by the price per barrel. So he's not just complaining, he's coming with details and information. And like I said, his name, he's putting his name on it. So, and then also, remember I said, how can they just cancel the 2025 budget when it's part of the 3-year budget? Remember? Well, he answered that. The government had approved a 3-year budget for 2023, 2024, and 2025. However, global economic changes and rising deficits prompted a revision of the 2025 budget schedule. So maybe there's a provision in the Constitution for that, right? But he's saying it's enough of a change that it would justify them to just drop it, right? Okay, look, oil going, it briefly went under $60. Let's see, at the time of this recording, Brent crude is back up to $62.48. Okay, but earlier today, this morning, I think it was below $60 at like $59.53 or something like that. So, Nabil Marsumi, remember he's the one who went to Facebook and told on them robbing Peter to pay Paul. Remember that from yesterday? So he gives an answer. Why did oil prices drop below $60? But he doesn't have everything. The oil prices have been hit hard by growing concerns about slowing demand. But if you look outside of Iraq, you can look up Saudi Arabia is mad at Iraq because they overproduced. That's one reason. And they said they were going to drop the price. Remember, we talked about that, I think, 2 episodes ago. The global uncertainty, the U.S. and Iranian talks fell apart. Okay, and there's one other thing, but it's so funny. Oil got so low. There's a show that I watch every day about stocks and stuff. He brought in a oil expert just to talk about why oil was going down and where did they see it going. So clearly, not only Iraq is concerned about the price of oil per barrel, right? So let's see that you could read that, but it doesn't matter also because it's not over. It's down. It's back over $60. But and they were kind of happy to see that we made an agreement with the U country, the rare earth minerals deal. So he likes that. All right. Talibanese party, the oil and gas laws off the agenda for the current session, despite the government's promises. So I read this a few times, and there's subsequent articles that have come out. This is talking about Kurdistan's parliament. Kurdistan cannot form a government, so it gets unraveled, and they have to start all over. So yeah, but does that hold up the RV? I do not believe it does. I don't think if Baghdad was ready to pass the oil and gas law, I don't think it would hold that up either. But it is, one Iraq, so we have to report on Kurdistan, and so that's where that is right now. All right, political interference is ravaging Iraq's economy. What does this mean to the experts? Let's see. Iraq's private sector suffers from significant weakness and stagnation due to its direct reliance on government funds because they're not, they need those laws, right? They need the laws that protect domestic and foreign investors. For the private sector, that's even more important, right? Because they're out there all alone. The government or state-owned sector, they have protection, right? So because there's laws they can't pass, it's ravaging the economic activity. See that right there? At the expense of individual initiatives and free investment. It doesn't mean free like no charge, but being free to invest in multiple things. All right. So that was a nice little short article. Let's see. See that it's only people who have a certain mind are gonna want to read that. That's okay though. And plus, don't think I'm all intellectual. I like that picture. I like that it's like a compass and the gold and the and the arrow going straight up, okay? But and the wording. Sometimes they get really really good translations, right? And their writing is more, the Arabic language is what they call a romantic language. So anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. There's my one commercial. Buy me a coffee. Thank you. Or Cash App support is great. I appreciate it so much. All right. Okay, so like I said, I couldn't wait. We're not at the end, we're at the middle, but I want to tell you now. And I know some of you are going to be like, that's nothing, but it's great. So this is a person announces I'm sure that's a he announces the removal of all restrictions and the official enabling of Iraqi developers to publish on Google Play. So what does that entail? The Iraqi developers have been officially enabled to create Google Play developer accounts, upload their apps to the store, and pay registration fees via international cards. But that also means they're going to get paid too, right? So, let me read a little bit more. This step is an advanced practical achievement in the path of national digital transformation and represents a new start for Iraq's participation in the global digital economy system. Now, I haven't been excited about something like this in a while, maybe a couple of weeks, but this is a first. Google was just there, 2 weeks ago? So look how fast that was. How uh, how quickly they got that up and running. And they're smart. The young people who understand the digital stuff, they are on it. So this is great. It's great for them. Um, you know, yeah. So please read this article. This could be one that you could share with people who will understand, because some people you say, oh, there's a new economy, the digital economy, and they're like, yeah, yeah. But some people will understand um, what a forward movement this is. And it's opening the banks to global banking, right? Okay. All right. I'm going to let it go because those who will get it will get it. Okay, wait. Here's thousands of Iraqi programmers are now able to directly and securely engage in the international app market without the need for intermediaries or informal solutions because they were having trouble. They were getting ripped off. There was fraud, ripped off by, they would put their app on these other smaller sites, and those sites would duplicate the app and then push the original creators. They know how to code, right? And they can shadow ban things. So that was happening. And supposedly Google doesn't do that, right? Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for them. I'm excited. All right. So there. You only had to wait. Oh boy, it's 22 minutes. Okay, let me hurry up. Parliamentary finance. The economic situation will be difficult. That's Jamal Cougar. Again, he's saying there's probably not going to be a budget. And what's hurting them is most notably the decline in oil prices, and there's no time left due to the start of the election campaign, because the election is November 11th. 6 months, right? 6 months. But that, they could still, I am hopeful they could still do it. And so all of these people, well, he is in the government. He's the Parliamentary Finance Committee. But until I hear Sudani or Mohammed Saleh or the finance minister, Miss Sammy, one of them, I need to hear them say, we're canceling the 2025 budget. Then I would consider that official, right? All right. Let's see. Here, you can read this. Here's another. Iraq signs again with Siemens to maintain power plants. And this was on TV. They were very happy about that. This was on TV. And I was trying very hard not to talk about it, but they've been talking about it all week. They're happy. They're getting 2 multi-role military helicopters from Airbus. And also they're going to get 6 or 8 more. 12. They're going to get 12 more. So they're happy about that. Here's another. The IMF sounds the alarm. Economic pressures mount on Iraq because of, and other non-Gulf oil producers. Oh, that was the other reason. Oops, I went a little too fast. That was the other reason. There's other countries that have oil that are not in OPEC plus, so they don't have to go by their guidance, or not guidance, production limits. They can produce as much as they want. So that's another thing, because what if you go by supply and demand? when there's a lot of supply, prices go down because they can get it anywhere they want it, right? So, and I've been wondering how OPEC Plus is going to handle that. So we'll see. All right, here is clarification of the cabinet's decision. And isn't it interesting? Clarification and cleanup both start with CL. Clarification of the cabinet's decision regarding the withdrawal of the tax deposits. So this is that article situation where they had to take money from one account to pay not salaries. Well, yeah, some salaries, but promotions and bonuses and certificates and some other things. Oh, my voice is getting, hold on. All right. Yeah, I'm talking too much. My voice was getting a little raspy there. All right. So, what was circulated on social media and some media outlets regarding a government decision to withdraw tax deposits, stressing that the procedure is legal, announced and aims to cover basic expenses, most notably salaries. So they had to fess up. Remember I told you they tried to post it on an obscure website that doesn't get a lot of traffic? And then Nabil Marsumi put them on blast. He put it on Facebook. So now enough people, enough citizens were like, hey, what's going on? You keep telling us there's no problems. So they came out and did a full explanation and said, yeah, we did it, but it's legal. Don't worry about it. Okay, I already talked about this, and you can look that up in regular news. The thing is that I find interesting is, remember Fawad Hussein, the foreign minister, he left here. He left America, and instead of going to Baghdad, he went to Oman. And he talked to the Omani mediator. And then what happens 10, 12 hours later? They're not having the talks anymore. We put more sanctions. And our new president also put out, hey, don't you buy oil from Iran or we're going to put sanctions on you too. So I don't know how that's going to work, but that's where we are right now. All right. So here, these are the last two articles, I think. Yes, these are long. Oh, no, here's one more. This is a short one. Planning Memorandum of Understanding with advanced countries to train employees outside Iraq. So they're going to be training employees in all state institutions, and the things they're going to train them on are management, law, protocol, computers, electronic and financial aspects, and others. And then also, just as a side note, they had like a engineering display your talents thing. And so they had little robotic stuff and energy stuff. Oh, growing food. So yeah, they're very excited, very proud of their young people. So yeah, they're coming along. They're coming along. Okay, I think that's the last. Yeah. So these two articles right here, and I put them down at the bottom for a reason. They're lengthy. This one, Sudani explains the reason for inviting the Syrian president to the Baghdad summit, and he has ambitions. He wants to host one of the Iran-US talks. I didn't know that. And I've been reading all those articles, so I don't know if he's just voicing this or I just, sometimes things go right over my head. But yeah, so this is So this Syrian president, so he's trying to be the good, like they said, their role, their role as their pivotal role as the powerful country in the region. Remember that? They announced that. So he's trying to bring it all together. But a lot of these people don't want the new Syrian president that we placed. And a lot of people are saying that could be the downfall of Sudani for his second term. Okay, so he may have given a speech. Today was or May 1st was Workers' Day, International Labor Day, something of that nature. So he met with some workers and he gave speeches and celebrations and everything. Okay, so if you want to read that, and then this one here, the one with the yellow, which I didn't do, that the website highlighted that. So if you go to the blog, go all the way down to the bottom, almost, the one with the yellow highlight behind the letters, this is an interview with an American journalist, Tim Constantine. I don't know who that is, but he asked some pretty direct questions, and of course, Sudani answered them. Of course, nothing about the rate. They do discuss economy, but nothing about new money, new rate. Yeah, guaranteeing rights of all citizens, rejecting extremism. So those are really good for those who are interested in reading things like that. All right. So, like I said, that was a power packed day, and I still didn't put everything. I could have put more in there, but that's pretty much the main things from my perspective, which is why I say you should go to the blog. That way you can read the full articles, and remember it's free. Just click that link and you are right there on the blog. So if there's a like, join, subscribe, follow, whatever type button where you are, click that because I don't update regularly. And when I do, if you have done that and all things work as they're supposed to, then you'll be notified that I posted. And as always, accumulate while we wait for the rate to appreciate. And when I say accumulate, I'm talking about Iraqi dinar. I know in dinar land there's a bunch of other currencies, but I just don't have the conviction of for those as I do for the dinar. Okay, someone asked me that, so that's why I said that. And of course, did I say don't miss any meals and pay all your bills? Yeah. All right. So thanks for listening again. Thanks, new subscribers. And enjoy the rest of your morning, night, noon, whatever time frame you're enjoying this content. And until next time.